Do you have a problem with your Yamaha SideSwitch Display A? In this video, we'll show you how to identify the problem with the Yamaha display, how to replace the entire display, and how to better protect it in the future. Before you start working on your bike to find the problem, I recommend that you do it in safety by first removing your battery from the frame, if possible. This not only spares your back from any unnecessary pain when you have to lift it onto the work stand, but also ensures that the system is no longer powered and you can work safely on the e-bike. Next, for troubleshooting purposes, you first need to very carefully and gently remove the display wiring from the frame. Depending on exactly how this is set up on your specific e-bike, you may first need to take off and set aside the motor cover and maybe another cover for the connector slots in order to ensure that you can properly access them. On our Hi-Bike All Trail 3, the one that you can see behind me, we also had to unscrew a cable guide which routes the display cable through the frame to the motor. Now after that, we can disconnect the connectors for the display, one at the motor and a second one, which for this bike is hidden at the top of the bike's frame. Now as for how to actually do this, simply pull out the connector and remove all plugs. As for the next step, you can simply remove the display from the handlebar using the appropriate hex key for this task. And now I recommend that you connect the display directly to the motor at the bottom. By doing so, you're now able to find out whether the issue with your display is actually caused by the display itself, or perhaps by the motor to display cable that runs through the frame. To check if that is definitely the case, you will of course need to reinsert your battery and then try to turn on the electric bicycle using the display. If it works perfectly, then it means that the problem is most likely with the cable that runs from the motor to the display inside the frame. But if your electric bicycle still doesn't turn on, then it's most likely really an issue with your display, or in the worst case scenario, even with the connector on your motor. If that's the case, it unfortunately means that you have to take it to a workshop to have it repaired. However, you can only perform this display test directly on the motor if you have a newer Yamaha motor, such as the PWX3 or PWST2, because these already have this display connector directly on the motor. Older models like the PWX or PWST motor have this white connector plug. In this case, you can't test the whole thing in advance. If you discover a defect in your display to motor cable, make sure when ordering that you get the correct version with this black connector for newer Yamaha motors, or with the white connector for the somewhat older models. Of course, I have properly linked both cables for you in the description of the video. They will take you to the online shop. If you've now been able to determine that it's actually a software or hardware error with your display, you should go ahead and order the appropriate replacement display now. Feel free to check out our online shop for a new display as well. With the new display, you can now reinstall everything in the reverse order of how we took it apart just a few minutes ago. In other words, you take the new display, connect it to the corresponding motor cable at the top of the frame, and you can already mount it onto the handlebar of your bike. Then we only need to reconnect the display cable to the motor, and with a short test using the installed battery of your bike, we can check whether everything is now working perfectly again. After that, all that remains is to refit the motor cover, the trim, and the cable grommet to complete the reassembly. If your cable routing has been handled a bit roughly and got damaged at any point, you are also able to find suitable cable grommets for the Hi-Bike models in our online shop. If you need to replace your display because it has a scratch or made rough contact with the ground during a fall, or it took any sort of impact that damaged it, I recommend getting a suitable silicone cover for your new display. It provides extra protection for your display against rain, moisture, and stone chips, and might save you some trouble if you've ever damaged a display before. I can also give you one more useful tip from our own experience. If you decide to use such a display cover, put the cover on when you have removed the display from the handlebar of your bike. Because this little hinge right here is a bit of a weak point, and if you shake or wiggle it too hard it can be broken, you'll end up with the same result as we did here in the video. And with that, you've independently replaced your display without having to go to a dealer, or have been able to find out what was actually wrong with your bike. Now feel free to write your questions in the comment section down below. Leave a like if this video helped you, and we'd appreciate it if you subscribe to our channel.